Hi everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another romance recommendations video to share with you, and I'm going to be talking about some dark romances. So, if you are a lover of dark romances, you may have read some of these. I have a mix of like light dark, and then like dark. You know, dark romance is a spectrum, you know? So I have a mix of all of them. These I've recently read, and I've just really wanted to sit down and talk about. I tend to share with you quite a bit. Like I said, it's a wide range. You may have heard of some of these. You may not have heard of some of these. But let's just go ahead and jump in because I have 10 romance recommendations to share with you. So the first one I have is Phantom by Greer Rivers. This one, where did I hear about this from? I saw it on Instagram and I was like immediately intrigued and I wanted to pick it up. Basically, it's set in New Orleans. As you can tell, it is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. I don't know. I hate using the word retelling, but it's like a reimagining. This book I recently got from the author. I ordered it for my birthday. She signed it to me. The inside of this book is honestly gorgeous. Look at this. This is a gorgeous book. I am so happy to have this in my collection. It came with some stickers, some like just swag. And it wasn't actually that much more expensive than the paperback on Amazon. So always check out the author's website. You can get really cool stuff. I think the box was only like $25 for a signed personalized book and all the swag, stickers, vinyl stickers, a little pin, magnets for drinks that they drink in here. Anyway, okay, it's cool. This is a Phantom of the Opera kind of reimagining. Our main male character is Soul. I think his real name is Solomon, but basically this has the stalker vibe. Our female character, she's not like a ballerina, but she performs in like operas, obviously. She also has bipolar disorder. And there is a note in here, I will say, from the author that you can scan this QR code and get all the triggers, but this is, the author has a note in here about her journey with bipolar disorder. So this is her journey, and most of the things that the female character in here deals with and has happened is actually her, like she's also had those, like she wrote them in here, like that's her own voice talking. So I thought that was really, really cool that she did that. I think this is a brilliant book. I think this is such a cool book that it's so unique. It's a very dark book, but it also gives you that dark atmospheric spooky vibe because he is kind of stalking her. He leaves her roses. Like in her dressing room, his twin brother is actually like running part of the opera house, or his wife runs part of the opera house too. So it's just this all around very atmospheric book. And I devoured this book when I read it, and it was just so good. And I think the mix of how she is and how she's handling her bipolar disorder and how Solomon fits into that, or Soul fits into that, so cool. I don't know, I just feel like check the triggers. I feel like this is a good middle dark romance. Like it's dark. It's not light dark, it's not dark, it's dark. And I loved it. The romance was super good. The romance was super romantic, super sexy too. So love this. It takes place in New Orleans, like underground New Orleans, like near the French Quarter. It was so good. How many times am I going to say this was so good? It really was good. Okay. I've been waiting to do this romance recommendations till I have like a lot of dark romances, and that's literally the top of my list because that started my like list because I wanted to do another dark romance recommendations. I do have a lot. I'll link them in the cards throughout this video. Like I said, I have a lot of dark and taboo romances. The next one I have is Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. I recently read this when I got the Mystic Box special edition in, and I absolutely love this. This is another book that takes place in New Orleans. Wow, can you sense a theme? I am from Louisiana, so I love reading about New Orleans. This is a student-teacher romance. This is also a beautiful book on the inside. And yes, I did read the special edition because I was not paying for the book when I had the special edition. But this is a beautiful book, and I'm so glad this is on my shelves. I was very gentle with this book when I was reading it because I wanted to make sure like I didn't mess up the pages or anything like that. But like I said, student teacher romance. Our female character, she is in her last year at this academy, and our main male character, he's her professor, and a lot of scenes on the piano. There is kind of like this BDSM aspect, dom sub aspect, which I did enjoy. It wasn't super heavy. I do know Pam Godwin can go heavy into that with some of her other series, but I really love this. Like I said, it's forbidden, taboo, because it's the student teacher aspect, and there are consequences in this book. He's obviously extremely rich, so he comes from one school to the other. His family lives in New Orleans now, so that's why he's here. She has a very hard past life. I will say there is sexual assault. It's talked about a lot in this book. There is some on-page stuff. There is also a very gruesome animal scene, like animal cruelty killing scene in this book, which I was warned about, thankfully, because I would have lost my shit if I read it. It's towards the end of the book. You can see it coming and you can totally skip it if you need to, but yeah, just know those two things. Pam Godwin is known for being a super dark romance author, so if you read her stuff before, you know what kind of to expect. I would say this is on the dark end of dark romance. So wherever you land, I'm trying to give you this like range so you can pick up really things that are good for you that you're not going to be like too triggered by. So really enjoyed this one. I love it so much. Another good one set in New Orleans. I have 2 books by Sam Mariano on here, but I'm going to talk about both of them. But the first one is Untouchable by Sam Mariano. So technically this is the second book by Sam Mariano that I've read. I read the first book. I read the book that I'm going to talk about next first. And then my friend Sam from Sam Reads Little, she said, I know you've picked up this book and had to DNF it because of the beginning, but if you get through it, I promise you're gonna like it. And I did. I think I would have given this like 4 stars. Carter Mahoney is not my favorite hero that Sam Mariano writes. This is very much a bully. There is a sexual assault scene at the beginning of the book, this is dark for a lot of people, and this is like my dark limit, like dark limit. Our main male character sexually assaults our female character. He makes her do certain things sexually in a classroom. So that is there, but he also kind of have this blackmailing thing. I feel like this is one of Sam Mariano's kind of like earlier books because you can tell the psychological part of the way Carter Mahoney is. It's not like fleshed out as much, and it's because I read the next book first. And yeah, I did enjoy this. Like I said, it's on the dark end, but yeah, really enjoyed this one. Not my favorite Sam Mariano. I'm going to talk about the next book, which is Even If It Hurts, because this is my favorite Sam Mariano book. I really, really love this book. We have Dare, or Chase Darrington, in this book. He is such an interesting character. I want to do a video of extremely interesting characters that the way their mind works and the way they do things and the reasons why they do things, I'm extremely intrigued by. So I'm someone who loves to watch like dark documentaries, stuff about crime, serial killer, stuff like that. I love that stuff. I love to get in their minds. I took criminology classes, serial killer classes in college as like extra classes because I'm really interested in that. So the way that Dare's psyche is in this book really, really interests me. I loved it. I do think between Untouchable and this one, this is my favorite because we get both points of view in this book. So we get the main male character and we get the main female character. So I really see what's going on in his mind and the way that he's doing things and why, like his reasoning for doing things. We don't get that in Untouchable, which is the reason why I didn't like it as much. I feel like if I would have read Untouchable years ago when I did start it, I would feel differently. But this one, top of the top, one of my favorite books of the year. Our female character, she is just trying to get through high school. I think it's her senior year, and she kind of gets on the wrong side of Dare's girlfriend at the time, and they together are fucking bananas. Like, they're crazy. Like, she's even more crazier than him if it's possible, and he has this reason for doing certain things, and he's trying to get her to fall in love with him and stuff like that, but he actually starts falling for her first in his own way, and the way that he is with her, and the ending, when I thought it was going to take a super dark turn, I would say this is on the darker end of dark, but at the end of this book I really did believe that he was in love with her. Whether she was in love with him, it's a little different, but I don't know how I feel about that part of it. But I will say this is a really, really good book. I think that if you love dark romance, you need to pick this up. If you are scared to read Sam Mariano, pick up this book because I feel like this is a lot different than Untouchable in a way. So yeah, there are some non-con scenes when she's asleep. I didn't have a problem with that. Usually I do. I didn't have a problem with it in this book. Like I said, you get his point of view, so you understand why he's doing, or you see his reasonings for doing it. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a different story. But me seeing his point of view helped me a little bit. So yeah. Love this one. The next book I have is The Initiation by Nikki Sloan. So I'm currently in the middle of reading this series and I am absolutely obsessed with this series. So The Initiation is one that a lot of people talk about. A lot of people talk about a scene at the end of this book, which I will say is a little dark, but I think that if you are an avid dark romance reader, it won't be as dark to you. But basically our female character, she steps in for her sister to marry this guy Royce. Hail, it's a very powerful family. But then something happens but before like they can actually like get married, because it's like an arranged marriage type thing, She's doing it to get her parents out of debt because the Hale family owns the mortgage, like the bank that has the mortgage of the house. And there's this crazy stuff going on. But basically, the first book at the end of the scene that I'm talking about is called The Initiation, where Royce and her have to have sex on a table in front of the other members. And it's called The Initiation, and their hands are on her. So it is a little like icky, but I was able to get past it. Like, then again, I listened to the audio, so it could have been different. I was just like listening to do it. I'm currently on the third book. I will be finished with it by the time you see this video. But it is I would say it's on the lighter side of dark, if that makes sense. This book. So if you're interested, these are like super short, quick books. I think they're less than 250 pages. Like this book, 280 pages, sorry. The audio is like 8 hours. You can get through them pretty quickly. My library, my Hoopla has it. So it is a good dark romance, a little on the lighter side. Can't believe I'm saying that. If you're an avid dark romance reader, it's on the lighter side. But if you're just dipping your toe in dark romance, you could maybe start with this one if you know that scene and know that there's some triggers going into it. But everything's 100% consensual. Like, they make it very clear that it's 100% consensual with her. So, the next book I have is Souls Unfractured by Tilly Cole. This is an extremely emotional dark romance. So, I did put this in emotional romance recommendations video just because I almost cried like 3 times while listening to this audiobook. This is the third book in the Hades Hangman series, and yes, it is extremely dark. Our female character, Maddie, and our main male character, Flame, who's in the motorcycle club, they both have very traumatic sexual experiences in their past that has stuck with them. And what makes it so dark is that it constantly comes up. It's like a true, what I would think like a really good representation. Not that I've had sexual trauma in my past, and I don't know how it is moving forward with that, but what I would imagine how hard it can be, like the epitome of hard would be this book, because you are trying to love the other person and have a romantic relationship, like Maddie is trying to have that with Flame. Flame is trying to have that with Maddie. But when they both have such dark past with like sexual abuse, it is so hard for them to have that experience like sexually together when that's such a huge part of romance, of a romance story, right? And it just honestly like breaks my fucking heart that they went through this, but it is an extremely dark romance. They do have a happily ever after. It is beautiful and I love it so much. The next one I have is Broken Whispers by Aniva Altaj. This is a mafia romance. This is the second book in the series, but you can read it as a standalone. Our female character, she does not speak because she has a throat injury. She is a ballerina. Our main male character, he is like basically an enforcer for, I think, the Russian mafia, if I'm not mistaken. And it's on the lighter side of dark. I will say this is on the lighter side of dark because the mafia aspect is what really makes it dark. Obviously, he kills people because he's the enforcer, but I love their story. It is such a beautiful story. It's very forced proximity. It's an arranged marriage. She agrees to marry him for the sake of her family and stuff like that. So it's on the shorter side too. This book is in Kindle Unlimited. I just so happen to have the paperback. The third book is out now, which I haven't read yet because it's not in Kindle Unlimited. I think it's coming out soon, and I'm really excited to get to that. But this one is beautiful. It's a beautiful story. It's a super short mafia romance, like I said, on the lighter side of dark, but highly suggest this one too. The next book I have is extremely dark to me, and that is The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartman. This one has a lot of triggers, has a suicide, attempted suicide, talk of suicide all throughout the book, loss of a loved one. I think there's just a lot of talk about that. And I think that while this is extremely emotional too, it is super dark. It's a little on the darker side, I would say. Not like my limit of dark, but it does bring a lot of things out. Our female character, she loses her husband on their first wedding anniversary. Someone steals her purse, her husband runs after, and he gets hit by a car and dies. So she's dealing with that. She tries to take her life, and obviously it doesn't work. But she is trying to go into this group where it's like an AA group where they talk about, attempted suicide and how to move forward and how to get out of that depression and stuff like that. It's like a support group. And there she meets our big brooding guy that's super grumpy. He's also has his reasons of being there as well, and it's super emotional. I feel like this is an extremely underrated book by Jennifer Hartman, and I think a lot of people, if they pick it up, they would feel the same way that they feel while reading Still Beating, because I feel like those two are up there. But I love Still Beating more, but this is super close second. So if you love Still Beating, definitely check out this one. I think a lot of people would love it. The last book I have is Things I Wanted to Say But I Never Did by Monica Murphy. This this is a true bully romance, and I just read this book, so I'm gonna put it out there. It's extremely long, not slow burn. There's a lot of sex in it, but both characters have reasons for that, but he has bullied her quite a bit. He says very horrific stuff to her. You're a whore, stuff like that. There's reasons for that, and while I do recommend it, it's only dark because of the bullying. She has had sexual trauma in her past that is brought up, so that's a trigger, but also at the same time, there's an attempted sexual assault scene on page, kind of like just an assault scene in general, but she doesn't understand what's happening. Like she doesn't, like she's like shooken up by it, so it's very emotional in that way. But it is a very dark romance if you haven't read dark romance. But like I said, it's only dark because there's a bully aspect. There's this whole power balance between his family being extremely powerful and having a lot of money and hers not. So I wasn't gonna put this one on the list, but I thought it does have that bully aspect. A lot of people think that's dark, especially with her past and stuff like that. So I wanted to put that one on the list. I did really enjoy the romance. It's not my favorite romance by Monica Murphy, but it's a really good start. It's the first book in the Lancaster prep series. Each book follows a different couple. It's like a different time. So it's not like you have to read them in order. I read the second one first and then the first one. So yeah, that is just some dark romance recommendations that I have for you. Let me know if you have any dark romances for me in the comments down below. I am always checking out new dark romances and reading them because it's one of my favorite things to read. So love taking your recommendations as well. Drop me some black heart emojis in the comments down below because they're talking about dark romance. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I'm seeing you in my next one. Bye, guys.